Things are getting out of hand in Africa, where every day we are seeing coups and coup attempts. In Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, Gabon, and Guinea, we saw successful military coups where now military juntas are ruling. That's when the pro-West presidents in African countries feel highly threatened by possible coup attempts against them. Well, this is right, because within a week, West Africa is experiencing a second coup attempt. First, authorities in Sierra Leone reported gunfires in the country, creating terror about whom the world does not know much. No sooner did Africa come out of this than we saw another coup attempt in Guinea Bissau, which was also bloody, killing various people. How did these two coups unfold? Who were killed, and how were they avoided? Is it possible that coups can take place in both these countries as we speak? Let's know about every detail of the events in this video. On November 26, 2023, a faction of militants launched coordinated attacks on various locations in Freetown, the capital of Sierra Leone. Consequently, the entire nation was placed under a nationwide curfew, and an extensive manhunt was initiated to apprehend the militants. The attacks unfolded at approximately 4:30 in the morning on November 26, targeting the military armory at Wilberforce Barracks in Freetown, situated near the presidential residence. Subsequently, the militants breached the central Pademba Road prison, releasing nearly 1,890 prisoners after the security forces withdrew. Additional skirmishes occurred in proximity to military sites, including the Navy in Murraytown, and there were reported assaults on guards at the residence of former President Ernest Bai Koroma. The estimated number of militants involved was around 50, including military officials and former rebel commanders. In response to the situation, a nationwide curfew was implemented, accompanied by a comprehensive search for the militants. President Bio, addressing the nation via televised broadcast, asserted the successful repulsion of the attack by security forces, leading to government control. Some militants were apprehended, and a sense of calm was reported, prompting a reduction in the duration of the curfew. On November 28th, gunfire incidents were reported in Murraytown, linked to an operation aimed at capturing a person of interest related to the attacks. The Sierra Leone Army reported the unfortunate loss of 14 soldiers in the conflict, while an additional 8 personnel sustained injuries in support of the government. The casualties included 3 attackers, 1 police officer, 1 prison guard, 1 civilian woman, and a private security employee, resulting in a total death toll of 21. Initially, the perpetrators behind the attacks remained unknown. A militant operating in a stolen police vehicle near the Wilberforce Barracks stated their intention to clean society and emphasized that ordinary civilians were not their targets. Information Minister Chernor Ba revealed the involvement of both current and former military officials, with an army spokesperson categorizing them as renegade soldiers. President Julius Maada Bio said the security forces effectively thwarted the assault, securing government control. International organizations characterized the attacks as endeavors to disrupt the constitutional order, with Sierra Leone's Information Minister, Chernor Ba, categorizing them as an attempted coup. According to Information Minister Chernor Ba, the incident led to the arrest of 13 military officers and 1 civilian. Ba described the episode as a failed attempted coup, underscoring the intent to subvert and overthrow a democratically elected government unlawfully. He asserted the attempt's lack of success, with many leaders either in police custody or evading capture, pledging to bring them to justice under Sierra Leone's laws. The Inspector General of Police, William Faya Selu, revealed that the attempted coup faltered in the early hours of November 26, when a group aimed to unseat the government through force illegitimately. Police released photographs of 32 men and 2 women sought in connection with the unrest, including serving and retired soldiers and police, along with civilians. Government authorities reported a death toll of at least 20 people in the attacks, with around 2,200 escaping from targeted prisons. In televised remarks, President Julius Maada Bio confirmed the arrest of most leaders involved in the attack and committed the government to pursue those still at large. Yet, tensions linger in Freetown, characterized by checkpoints, closed schools and banks, and a dusk-to-dawn curfew. But why was there a coup attempt against President Julius Maada Bio? Well, this event occurred during the escalating tensions in Sierra Leone since a shady election in June, where EU observers and US officials raised concerns about election transparency following President Bio's re-election. Opposition candidate Samura Kamara rejected the results, claiming the election lacked credibility. The country has also grappled with the economic repercussions of the COVID-19 pandemic and Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Last August, police opened fire on demonstrators protesting high food prices, further contributing to the complex challenges facing the nation. In the aftermath, Information Minister Chernor Ba characterized the incident as a failed attempted coup, aimed at illegally subverting and overthrowing a democratically elected government. On November 28, ECOWAS condemned the attacks, expressing zero tolerance for unconstitutional change of government, and framing it as an attempt to disrupt Sierra Leone's constitutional order. The bloc signaled its readiness to deploy regional support for strengthening national security. The U.S. Embassy also condemned the attacks and pledged ongoing support to Sierra Leone, as reiterated in a statement on social media. The European Union's mission expressed concern and underscored the importance of respecting constitutional order. During a meeting, the Nigerian delegation conveyed a message of solidarity to President Bio, emphasizing their commitment to preserving democracy, peace, security, and stability in Sierra Leone. All this suggested one thing: Sierra Leone's president was getting support from the West and those who are pro-West, like the Nigerian president. This made it clear that the president was himself pro-West, and the attempted coup was perhaps being carried out by factions willing to liberate the country from the West's influence. Now, President Julius Maada Bio has committed to prosecuting the perpetrators, raising questions about their motives. While the influence of recent military takeovers in the region on the coup attempt remains unclear, civil society advocate Valnora Edwin points to underlying discontent and issues fueling the mutiny. Political factors contribute to the unrest, with high unemployment creating dependence on government jobs. Political affiliation becomes crucial for access to state jobs and benefits, intensifying the stakes during elections. Discontent may arise if a political party loses, leading to a loss of influence and opportunities. Ethnic favoritism within the military and police during government transitions also fuels discontent. Certain ethnic groups face advantages or disadvantages in promotions, transfers, and retirement, contributing to divisions within the armed forces. Sierra Leone's economic outlook, marked by heavy reliance on imports and inflation, exceeding 50%, adds to the discontent. The absence of effective policies to mitigate external economic shocks compounds the economic strain. Tensions persist from the aftermath of the contested June elections, where President Bio secured a second term amid opposition claims of irregularities. The All People's Congress APC, particularly in the armed forces, still harbors grievances over contested results. Later, it was revealed by Information Minister Chernor Ba that the current and former military officials were involved in the attacks, some of whom have been apprehended. Regarding suspicions of an attempted coup, Ba asserted that key leaders behind the assault were in custody and undergoing interrogation. Initially aiming to storm the presidential residence, the armed individuals altered their course after encountering resistance. The guard of former President Ernest Koroma was detained, and subsequent updates revealed the tragic news of one guard killed and another abducted. President Julius Maada Bio described the events as a breach of security and an insult to democracy. Well, that's what the West often says. Whenever its interests are in danger, the excuse of democracy is presented. President Maada Bio had to address the grievances in the country that ultimately led to this coup attempt and will linger until the issues are resolved. Now, while a semblance of order has been restored in the capital, an active manhunt persists for the armed individuals and escaped prisoners. A tense calm is gradually settling in Freetown following a weekend of gunfire that threw Sierra Leone's capital into a state of panic. Kieran Mitten, a researcher focused on Sierra Leone, suggests that last year's crackdown created an environment where some individuals saw an opportunity for dissent. The prevailing sense of unhappiness, coupled with President Bio's perceived neglect of domestic issues during international trips, contributed to the volatile atmosphere. While Sierra Leoneans reject the notion of foreign media attributing current issues to past civil wars, they acknowledge that the recent violence evokes memories of darker times. Rumors of a potential coup had circulated for months, leading to the arrest of 14 military officers in August. Analysts estimate that around 50 individuals, including military officials and former rebel commanders, may have participated in the attack. Videos on social media show abandoned trucks containing weapons, suggesting successful breaches into the military armory. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Kars de Brajne, West Africa lead at Klingendal Institute, questions the unusual target of the armory, wondering why attackers did not aim for a more sensitive location, such as the State House, typical in coup attempts. The release of inmates may have been orchestrated to sow chaos. Some of those who lost their lives are linked to Ernest Bai Koroma, the former president and member of the opposition APC. The situation remains highly complex now, with ongoing investigations to unveil the motives and identities behind the attacks. Despite easing a 24-hour curfew to a nighttime lockdown, numerous individuals in Freetown and across the country continued to stay indoors. This shows that the country is still in the aftershocks of the coup attempt, and things are quite uncertain now. Investigations have revealed quite important names that could be the masterminds behind the coup attempt. Amadou Koita, who served as a companion to Ernest Bai Koroma during his presidency that concluded 5 years ago, was taken into custody on December 4th, along with 2 police officers accused of sheltering him. Sierra Leonean authorities have labeled Koita as one of the organizers of the coup attempt. Despite residing in London for the past 4 years, Koita has a substantial social media following, using his platform to criticize the current government led by President Julius Maada Bio. Those close to him claim that he discreetly left London to visit his ailing mother in Guinea, potentially deciding to enter Sierra Leone to reunite with his children, for whom he was arranging asylum papers in Britain. This opens a new aspect. President Maada Bio might be trying to punish those who speak against him. It also remains unclear as various theories emerge that the coup attempt might have been orchestrated by Maada Bio himself to clear the road for punishing the opposition. Some also argue that the events of November 26 were a carefully orchestrated operation aimed at disrupting the upcoming dialogue between political parties and the investigation into irregularities in the June 24th elections, which Bio won. But something unprecedented happened just recently. Within a single week of the coup attempt in Sierra Leone, we saw another one in Guinea Bissau. Earlier, President Umaro Sissoco Embalo of Guinea Bissau had appointed 2 new officials for his security. This was in response to the coups in Niger and Gabon, which presidential security officials orchestrated. Hence, it became clear that if loyal presidential security officials were put in place, then perhaps coup attempts could be avoided. Generals Thomas Jassi and Horta Inta were appointed as the head of presidential security and chief of staff of the President of the Republic, respectively. These positions, outlined in the official organizational chart, had remained vacant for several decades. General Jassi, former head of the National Guard, played a crucial role in thwarting the coup attempt in February 2022, according to the authorities and President Embalo. General Inta, formerly the head of the Central Police Station in Bissau, a position often held by military personnel, also assumed his new role. President Embalo was quite overconfident when he had said, "To speak seriously, I reassure you that there will be neither February 2 nor February 3. Any suspicious movement will have an adequate response," referring to the attempted coup on February 1, 2022, in which he claims to have been a victim, resulting in 11 deaths according to the government. Yet, despite this, we saw a coup attempt against him. Between November 30 and December 4, 2023, clashes erupted in Bissau, the capital of Guinea Bissau, involving government forces and units of the National Guard. The National Guard had released 2 ministers accused of corruption from detention, leading to the arrest of National Guard Commander Colonel Victor Chongo. President Umaro Sissoco Embalo characterized these events as an attempted coup. This should be seen in Guinea-Bissau's semi-presidential system that limits the president's powers, allowing the majority party in the National People's Assembly to appoint the cabinet. This arrangement gives the opposition pave party control over both the legislature and the National Guard, falling under the jurisdiction of the Interior Ministry, which has been critical of President Umaro Sissoco Embalo since the June 2023 elections. In 2022, Embalo survived a coup attempt that claimed 11 lives, leading to the dissolution of the legislature due to unresolvable differences with the body. Since gaining independence in 1974, Guinea-Bissau has experienced at least 10 attempted coups, with only one democratically elected president completing a full term in office. But let's know how the coup attempt unfolded. On the morning of November 30, 2023, Finance Minister Soliman Sidi and Treasury Secretary Antonio Montero faced questioning in an anti-corruption inquiry related to the alleged irregular withdrawal of $10 million in state funds, which were discovered to have been paid to 11 companies. Following the inquiry, they were arrested on the orders of state prosecutors appointed by the president. The leader of the opposition in the National People's Assembly claimed that the company's owners had close ties to leaders of the country's PAIGC-led governing coalition. The ministers were held at a police station near the Bandi market in Bissau. Later that night, members of the National Guard, armed with AK-47 weapons and bazookas, stormed the police station where Sadi and Montero were detained, freeing the ministers from their cells. The ministers were subsequently taken to an undisclosed location and were later discovered by authorities after the public ministry ordered their rearrest. The guardsmen involved in their release retreated to a barracks in the Santa Lucia district. Following the incident, gunfire broke out between the National Guard and pro-government forces, led by special forces of the Presidential Palace Battalion, after 11 p.m. in the Antilla neighborhood and near the Presidential Palace. Shooting continued until noon on December 1st, when the army announced that the commander of the National Guard, Colonel Victor Chongo, had been captured. However, other accounts claimed that he had surrendered. Military vehicles and roadblocks were seen on the streets of Bissau, while security was increased around strategic installations such as the Judicial Police Headquarters, the Presidential Palace, and some ministries. Regional stabilization forces deployed by ECOWAS were also seen patrolling the streets. 2 individuals lost their lives in the fighting, while 6 pro-government soldiers were reportedly injured and evacuated to neighboring Senegal. The army reported that an unspecified number of officers and personnel from the National Guard fled into the interior of the country. Several residents also fled the south of the capital. Embalo, who was attending the 2023 United Nations Climate Change Conference in Dubai when the clashes broke out, returned to Guinea-Bissau on the evening of December 2nd and ordered Victor Chongo's dismissal as commander of the National Guard. He labeled the clashes an attempted coup, prepared before celebrations on November 16, commemorating the founding of Guinea-Bissau's armed forces. Following a visit to the National Guard barracks, Embalo said that Chongo was ordered by someone to release Sadi and Montero. Addressing the Guard, Embalo said they had been betrayed by Chongo and vowed he would pay dearly. He further alleged that there had been complicity between the National Guard and certain political interests within the state apparatus. He condemned the passivity of the government, adding that the National Guard had sought to block investigations into the 2 ministers. But later, he did something unexpected. On December 4th, Embalo issued a decree dissolving the National People's Assembly and ordered soldiers to be deployed at the headquarters of state media outlets, National Broadcasting of Guinea-Bissau and Guinea-Bissau Television, to replace their heads, who were seen as loyal to the assembly. Embalo also announced that Prime Minister Geraldo Martins would remain in office, but that he was taking over the Defense and Interior Ministry portfolios. In response, Assembly Speaker Domingos Simoes Pereira, a longtime rival of Embalo, accused the president of carrying out a constitutional coup d'etat, noting that the Constitution states that the legislature cannot be dissolved in the first 12 months after an election, which was last held in June 2023. Following the announcement, several youths were seen burning tires on a street near the assembly building. In contrast, several people gathered in front of the building to protest the dissolution, expressing fatigue over the need to vote again. Besides issuing a decree to close down the predominantly opposition-led parliament, the president announced that the date for legislative elections will be determined at the opportune moment, in line with the Constitution. Embalo criticized Parliament, which had discussed the multi-million-dollar withdrawal affair. He accused it of preferring to defend members of the executive suspected of corruption against the state rather than fighting to apply the law rigorously and exercising its role as a check on government actions. It becomes unclear what will happen next under such complex circumstances. Do you think the masterminds behind these coup attempts will stay silent after the coups have been busted? Or is it likely that Guinea Bissau and Sierra Leone will face successful coups within the next few days? Let us know your thoughts on whether the coups were carried out with West's support. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.